Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sharmit podcast. Today, I'm excited to introduce another special guest, Trung Vo, a passionate web developer and a Google developer expert joining us from Vietnam. Trung brings over a decades of experience in web development, marked by speaking at 20 plus global conferences, including Stack and JS Conference Japan, founding Angular Singapore, and growing vibrant developer community. So today in this episode, we are going to talk about Trunk's journey and insight into the web development. But before we proceed further, I would like to thank Trunk for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Wow, thanks, Amit. Yeah, it's like when I hear other was talking about myself, it was like, oh, is it actually like is it me? It just sound wow. Okay, maybe that's really me. But yeah, thanks again for having me in the podcast. My name is Trung. I'm originally from Vietnam. I moved to Singapore about 10 years ago with a broken English, and I start kind of my tech career in Singapore most of the time, I would say, because I came here very early. I graduated, I got a job in Hanoi, Vietnam, worked for about 1 year, moved to Singapore, and just spent my entire 10 years in Singapore and build my career. I work mostly in front end, been through a few company, mostly a startup. So the name might not be super, like click for most of you. I been to a Xylem, a small startup in logistics, then moved to ClickDefi, one of the quite a vibrant startup in blockchain, and then now I'm with Ascenda, where we are building a loyalty program for financial services worldwide. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think pretty much this is about my career. There's a lot of things that you already mentioned, Amit. So
Yeah.
probably I will not repeat them.
Okay. So as you mentioned, like you did your graduation from Singapore itself, and most of your time was spent professionally as well as academically on Singapore, right? So what were those moments that inspired you to move from Vietnam to Singapore and later doing your professional journey there? Like, was there anything specific that inspired you to move there?
So just a little like slight correction. So I studied university in Vietnam. I
Okay.
got a scholarship in FPT University, one of the kind of prominent uh, school that teaching you on software engineering and tech related
Okay. Okay.
subject. So I was studying in Vietnam, and after graduation, I worked directly for FPT Software, which is um, the conglomerate that has FPT Software and FPT University, right? So they need manpower to doing the future to be the future engineers. That's why they also founded the university. Um, so I think that is just a bit of background about my education, but maybe the interest in tech started a bit earlier than that, right? So I
Okay.
got my first computer when I was so young, I think like about 8 years old, and I was born and raised in a very rural area in Vietnam. And to be honest, like to get a computer, it is expensive. Like the house might cost you that much, and then the computer is like one fifth the house, which is a huge amount of money. And then
Correct.
my dad was like getting it from his office. They are selling a cheap one, and it is still like very early. Like I remember it's like 16 megabyte of RAM, 16 megabyte.
Oh,
Like it is like megabyte RAM. It's not like gigabyte like we had. And then like 10 gig of hard driver. It had a CD-ROM, which is pretty advanced and still have a floppy disk. So on and on, because I had a computer so early, that's why I do a lot of stuff. I play game. I know how to installing Windows, fixing it from my friend computer. So all of that was, I do believe that in the career, it's kind of sparking my interest in doing something with computer. Maybe
okay.
I wasn't sure that it's software engineer writing code, but it's something. And I was so glad that I eventually got a scholarship to study in software engineering and start a career.
Okay. So how were the things before the scholarship and after the scholarship? Like how did your scholarship at FPT University helped you in your journey? Like, did you witness anything new after your scholarship was credited?
I let me think. I mean, I wasn't the best kid in the school, right? So like before I got the scholarship, I was not the
Mhm.
best in the class, right? The reason I got it is because my high school was kind of a top 100 school in Vietnam that get the
Okay.
highest university entrance score. And then it's just like we got four scholarship for the school, and then it went into the math class, which is my class, and then went to the English class. So I believe the reason why I got the scholarship because most of my friends, the top one, the best, they just, I want to do finance, I want to do, I don't know, marketing, and less people interested in engineering and software. So I was the guy who kind of having a bit of credential on doing like computer things. So that's why they said,
Mhm.
okay, so give it to Chung. He gonna study. You don't take it and you don't study. You just give it to someone who want to study it in the future. So I got it, and
Oh.
so that's how I get it, right? So just give a background that I'm not like super distinct or something to get the scholarship. Um, and then when I get into university, I was also not the best. Right? I was not paying enough attention because I was stay away from home. So I was stay with my parents and then I moved to the big city to study in university. So it give you a bit of freedom. Uh, maybe too much of freedom. Um,
Yeah.
and I do see that maybe university didn't make me a top student, but it does give me the real life practice, right? Living away from home do taught me on budget, cooking, relying on myself, and I just very interested in joining the tech club in the school, right? So there's many. There's also the library where everyone will just hang out after the class. So I was just talking to my senior and all of that. And eventually, we do start our own club called Web Developer, like it's FPT University Web Developer Club.
Okay.
And it was pretty like how's that like viral initially, like you don't see it in school, so there's like 50 people come for the first time. So I do think all of those experience do shape my perspective on actually doing web development or like getting some freelance project. It it paid you, and then it also like telling you like it could pay the bill. It could be the future. Everyone is shifting to web. It's not just like desktop app, right? That's my time. This sort of window desktop app. So it is now an era of web, and then it should be the future. And then later
Yeah.
on, sure, that is like mobile application. But at my time, probably the big thing is web. Yeah. So I do
Okay.
think it does have.
Yeah, I really appreciate your honest answer regarding the scholarship, because most of the time, like, people avoid such kind of thing, but you honestly speak up to all the things that you have journey through your journey, so it's fine. Okay.
It's real anyway. Yes, it's I cannot. Okay,
Yes.
anyway.
All right. So another thing, Trong, I just want to ask you regarding the conferences, because you have spoken at over 20 plus conferences across the globe. So what do you enjoy most about the public speaking? Like, how did you develop this passion?
Um, there's many things to talk, but I
Okay.
do see the most thing that I appreciate, right, is the connection that you get from all the conference. As also like
Mm-hmm.
any meetup or community event that you went through. Um, so first of all, like speaking at the conference is gonna let you share what you learn,
Mm-hmm.
but the sharing is likely like half an hour or like 40 minutes and that's it, right? You prepare so well, you deliver the first time, maybe it's not the best, but you do it a few times, and then the next time it's gonna be a bit better and it's improved. So it okay is, I mean, nervous, and a lot of people don't like speaking, but you could get better. I think that's the point. However, the connection that you get is a bit more lasting, I would say. So you always meet experts from different category, or like sometimes you just had a very good conversation with an attendee, like someone who just super interested in your topic. They come and
Okay.
ask you a certain question. They do follow up with you on LinkedIn, just keep interacting and following up. It's just so much encouraging. So that I think that those moments really feel worthwhile. Um, but it think also like it kind of forced me to slow down a bit and reflect because sometimes like when I ask my team like do you have anything to share? The first answer is like I don't know what to share. Right. So
Mm.
I do believe that everyone has been working on some kind of challenging problem, technical
Yes.
issue that worth sharing. Could be you just handling some daytime, time zone, international
Correct.
currency display. All of that could be worth sharing, but you just never really think that is something you could share about. So I do think it is really forced me to slow down and reflect on my own journey and to really understand what I was trying to say. So in a way, speaking do help me grow. So on and on, I think the connection thing is the most important, the most thing I enjoy. But also the other aspect is more on I can reflect on my own journey, on my own experience, what I can share with a broader audience. That also spark that interest.
Yeah, I'm also agree with this thing that when we got an opportunity for networking, that is something really precious for the IT folk, because when you interact with the like-minded people, there are more chance of learning. We can explore new things by the collaboration. So that is one thing that yeah, I also admire. And if we talk about your experience at STEC conference and JS conference of Japan 2024, so how was your experience there? Like, did you? I'm sure like you enjoyed there as well. But was there any specific moment, any memorable moment that is close to your heart?
Let me think. I do attend a few conference. I try to do maybe one, two, three a year, not more than that. I think
Mm-hmm.
you do speaking a bit earlier, right? So I had my kind of first in-person talk was like when I was 30. Not very early, not too late. I don't think it's late at all. But
Okay.
over and over, you just get less excited on like traveling to other country. It's still exciting, but it's less excited. And now you had a kid and all, right? So it's very hard. Um, so back to the question. Stack conference is organizing in Singapore. It's super convenient.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to take a train to the venue and then do a check the day before, and then the next day I come and do the talk. And the difference, I think, is like SAC is or was organizing by GovTech Singapore, one of the tech organizations behind the government. So it is super organized in a way. It has a lot
Okay.
of experts from a different area. And my talk was actually a lightning talk. It's supposed to be like 15 minutes, very short. But the most memorable is like I've been to a whole, right, it's like maybe 300 candidates, like attendee, but when you do a landing talk and it's like a booth, and I thought maybe there's 20 people is gonna attend my talk. That's the maximum. Because there's maybe like 20 seats. But like before my talk, like people just coming because I think it's just right after lunch. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's right after lunch. People just keep, taking food and then just lining up. And then eventually, I think it's just full. Like people were standing and listening to my talk. Maybe there's 100 people. Wow, it will feel amazing. It's feel overwhelming, but at the same time, you feel amazing because you expect maybe like 20 and then there's 100 people show up. But the bit that like closing to my heart and like my memory was like I got tagged after the conference, after my talk. I think after an hour on the way back home, or maybe actually not back home. I just mingling around, and then I saw LinkedIn. There's like someone tagged me in one of the posts, and I just summarized what I was just talking about like an hours ago. Was I think that if you ever do any like sharing, I think that's feel amazing. It's feel like,
Okay.
oh, okay, it's clicked to someone. They remember it, and now they are sharing about it. I think that feel super interesting.
All right.
Yeah, so I think that's what came from a stack conference in Singapore.
Okay. All right. Now we will talk about your another great initiative, that is Angular Singapore. So just tell us bit about the founding of this Angular Singapore. what inspired you to start this community, and how it has grown since it has started. So how was your experience with that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love Singapore is super interesting. So one of the turning point likely, I think that's right after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's right after COVID. So you just don't have the same, event and community as before because it's had a, how do you call it? Like in Singapore, we call it circuit breaker, where you are not allowing to going out, social distancing. Yeah, I think that's what you
Yeah.
how you call it. So there isn't a lot of physical event anymore, and then everything is turning to online. So
Mm-hmm.
I was doing Angular for some time. By 2020, by the time of COVID, I think, for about like 4 years before that. And I always seeing like React and then Vue and like other community. And I
Community,
never
yeah.
seen Angular. And I was like, so I was waiting at first, right? So I started in 2016 working in Angular 2. And then until 2020, there's still no Angular Singapore. So probably that is the turning point. I was like, okay, I wait for long enough. I'll just start one. And it's like starting a community. It actually is super easy. You are the one who started it. So you can just maybe open a LinkedIn page. You create a new Twitter account. You're gonna say, okay, this is Angular Singapore. You're gonna start to retweet people post, and you say, okay, maybe we're gonna have the first meetup. That is how easy to set up a new community. That's it. But the challenging part is like, how do you get people to sign up and know about
Correct.
you and then talking about you? So I do post mainly on Twitter, and I think at that time there's something called Angular Nation. I'm not sure you heard about it. There's something called Angular Nation. Was founded by Bonnie, one of my good friend. And I just post there and in Twitter. And then so I run a few online talk because I can invite people from overseas to talk because it's online. So I managed to invite a lot of like famous people and in the Angular community. They are super open. They just agree to speak when I just approaching. Like that's it. Yeah, sure. I can join your meetup. Nothing. And I think the most interesting thing is in the first few online talk, there's no one from Singapore though, in the
Mm-hmm.
call. Yeah, because it's like, people from Europe, from different country,
Different
maybe from the
origin, yeah.
US. Yeah, so that is super interesting. And eventually, I saw one or two from Singapore. And one of them is like Aileen, which is one of my core organizer now at Angla Singapore. And we start to do like in person. So that is a long story, but the whole point I'm trying to say is like we start the Angler Singapore kind of community for about 2 years. Most of the event is online, and then I do some weekend live streaming, live coding, and then after COVID in 2022, October 2022, we had the first in-person event. It
Okay.
is mind-blowing. You never seen anything like that. There's like 80 people come to the room. There's not enough seat because we only anticipate for like 50. There's not enough pizza anyway, but yeah, people was happy to join, and then that was mind blowing. So until now, we had like 6 events. We are partnering with a different group in Singapore, organize even bigger workshop like 100 people. So it is super happy to see that the community is still lasting since 2020, which is like about 5 years, even though we only has one or two meetup a year, but it's still running. That's what I was kind of
Okay.
happy the most.
And
Yeah.
Trung, like you are also involved in the Angular community of Singapore, as you just mentioned. So if we talk about the difference between both of the community, I'm sure like they are working with the same technology. They are working for the same projects as well, because similar kind of web development task would be there. But anything that you found common between both the community, and one thing that is completely different in both the community?
Oh, I think you just mentioned like Angular Vietnam. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
just the difference between Angular Singapore and Angular Vietnam, I assume. Um, so yeah, like I said, both community, right, is still super passionate, but
Okay.
they do have a different vibe. It's just how it is.
Yes.
In Singapore, probably because the people in Singapore is like also diverse. Like there's a lot of expert and people come to work in Singapore from different countries, just like myself. And from Vietnam, there's also people from all Southeast Asia and also people from Europe and like US. So you can see the people coming to the meetup is a bit diverse. It's just different.
Yes.
And because of that, it does give a lot of different perspective from, meetup to meetup. And all of the event found like it feel very structured, right?
Hmm.
We always wanted to come with a very clear agenda, time up, which fit the style of working in Singapore very well. It's just super professionally like structured. And I think in Singapore, like the government also play a very active role in driving the tech
Okay.
like community. So they has smart nation vision, and also they have like agency like GovTech, like I mentioned before. They also regularly host event. So we drive very strong culture of learning and collaboration. So that's Singapore, right? So in Vietnam, in the other hand, the energy feel a lot younger and more like community driven. A lot of developers are young in their career and they are very eager to learn. They're young, right? So it's like there was online on Facebook, there has a lot of questions they are asking. And because Angular Vietnam, we has the group in Facebook, and you see member requests every day. Like, people just want to join our group every single day. There's no day
Hmm.
you don't have any requests, which is completely different. Like in Singapore, eventually, after 5 years, I got 300 people in the group chat. In
Okay.
Vietnam, we have 32,000, which
Oh,
is
that's
different.
a
I
huge
mean, of
number.
course, the number doesn't say anything, but it is still the number. So the vibe in Vietnam for sure is less formal. People is always happy to hang around, chat it, talk after the event, sometime over coffee. It is super casual, warm and welcoming. You can ask all kind of question. We also because of the size, the group that you see, there's a lot more question coming. So probably, yeah, I think I do enjoy both of them for sure, right? Each
Yes.
one bring a different kind of energy, and I will walk away with something new if I join any event from both groups.
Okay. All right. So now we will talk bit about the project that you have developed as a open source project like Angular Spotify and Angular Jira clone. So just tell us bit more about these two projects, like how you started it and where the developers can find these projects.
Sure, I think based on the name, I hope you guys can hear it's a Jira clone,
Spotify.
so which means it's a clone of Jira,
Yes.
and Spotify likely is a clone of Spotify. It's just using Angular to build. So you can find it on GitHub under my name. Chung is my name and VOSE. Maybe we can has a link after. But
Okay.
essentially, it's just an open source project. It starts from a simple idea. I wanted to test like what I can build. I test my knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to learn by building, right? Because you work at the very structured project at work, sure, it's gonna bring you some experience. And luckily for me, I was the one who set it up at work. So at my first company, I was the first and the only front-end engineer at all. So I was setting all of that. But the project at work is still a bit different from what you want to build. And I always wanted to have something like a bit interactive, a bit like interesting, a bit fun to build. And you see Jira, right? The first thing I like about Jira is this drag and the drop of this of the
Task.
ticket bot. Like a few
Okay.
column you can drag thing. It feels super smooth. And you just never seen anything like that in Angular. Because I don't know why, right? You had the capability to do so using Angular library.
Mm-hmm.
At that time I think I was using Material CDK. And then I just don't see it. So I wanted to build something like that. So Jira clone took about 1 month. I built it after hour. And then I finished, I just posted on Twitter. And somehow it clicked. It kind of it took off. Maybe because people never really seen, like I mentioned, many projects built with Angular. So it just take
Correct.
off, like even the Angular team was sharing about it. I was so happy. Um, but it lasts for maybe a few weeks, and then I was busy at work, and then at one point Spotify was coming out of it. It's just also like another weekend project. It took a bit longer to build, maybe 1 month, a bit longer. And the tricky thing is like to get started takes so long. I think it's gonna take you like 2 weeks to set up the project, had some few first commit, and then as you start to work and you see more things coming to place, you start to see things on the UI, you just get a lot more motivation to keep pushing and keep pushing. So I spent maybe like 2 weeks, the first few weeks, and then I take another 2 weeks to complete most of the thing. And the same thing, I work on it and I share it on Twitter. And then I think
Okay.
also Reddit, and then people like it. And then I think it got like 1,000 stars within 5 days. So my mind was I was mind blown. I was never thought that I can get that kind of project. But eventually, yeah, it did happen. So very long story, but I think both project, the reason why I wanted to build, though it's just I want to learn by building things. I think
Yes.
that's the easiest way for you to learn something.
Correct. Agree.
Reading on the tutorial and reading and then watching video, mind can only get you that far. Yeah. But building thing, you're gonna touch you something for sure.
Correct. Yeah, and yeah, I am also agree that by doing just by just referencing the content on internet won't help in that way, because once you start preparing, for sure, like you can learn through blogs, videos. Once it is like once you grab the concepts, then you should try at least some projects so that it will give you the actual idea like how the things are working. Doesn't matter like which technology you are working, but it will help you to prepare the projects well.
Yep,
Okay,
totally
all
agree.
right. So now, Trung, we will talk bit about your another work, which is because at Ascenda you work on loyalty programs for financial institutions as well. So, what unique challenges do you face when building these kind of financial institutional projects?
Yeah, I do believe there's quite many, right? I think on top of my head, the reason why I joined the team in the first place is we has a lot of challenge
Mm-hmm.
supporting many different financial institutions, and in this case, we mainly referring to a big bank. Um, and we need to support their own branding and configuration in a single code base. So you have many different bank, one different look and feel on the UI, and we had a single Angular big project to support it. So the approach that we took is like every bank is like one Angular project, and you need to have a way to share and make building the UI easier. But also, because the logic is mostly the same, right? It's like you go to the list, it fetches the same data. It's just the look and feel has to be different. And it is
Yeah.
very tricky to support. Because sometimes, the logic can be shared, but it can only be shared like 50%. It cannot
Okay.
be shared all of them, right? Like some bank, there was some custom thing, and wow, that's tricky. And I think what we want to eventually embed it in the project is like the flexibility. Too much flexibility make things harder to scale. So we end up with a single solution of configuration-based project. It is more like a SaaS project, like Slack. You go in, you set up a few things. You might have a different color. You might have a different name. There's certain configuration you can do, or like Shopify. There's certain configuration that you can do, but beyond that, likely that's all we support, right? If there's something we can reuse across the board, then we can see that it's benefiting other customer, like benefit the product as a whole, then we will consider adding it. So that is one of the first challenge that we have to solve. And I think at the moment we kind of get to the point that we had a reasonable solution that can fit pretty well in, yeah, of course, not all of the use case, but most of the use case. The second
Okay.
one, right? The first one is branding, customization. The second one is performance and user
Mm.
experience, because it is critical. Like even the
Yes.
website is slow, you just don't want to use it, right? And initially we don't focus much on performance because you want all of the functionality to be ready first, and then for performance is not like a second thought, but other is still also more important, right? So
Correct.
you think about our system, we need to support booking fly from different supplier, and then you're depending on them. You're depending on the third party supplier. yeah, we are not talking to the airline directly. So it's so tricky. Like think about you have only like 10-second load, and then in 10 seconds, likely the user will drop. You have to make the user engage somehow with your
Mm-hmm.
experience. And eventually we come up with a different like approach to handling that. Could be showing the loading spinner differently, could be showing like progressive result as it's coming in instead of let them wait for 10 seconds and everything come as one. Maybe 2 seconds there's something, 3 seconds, 4 seconds there's something incrementally showing. So that is crucial and that is quite hard to deal with. And yeah, at the end, we kind of manage. That is second issue, performance. On the last one, still very strict compliance and security. So that's
Right.
financial institution, right? So you need to make sure the data is secure. There's no compromise on security at all.
Correct. Okay. So although like we have plenty of things that we can discuss here on Angular and your projects, but we have limited time. So I just would like to ask my last question. And it is related to the support system, because we all know that behind every successful person there is a network of support. So for you, who are those key people or influential people who have played a vital role in your journey?
Wow, I do think that in 10 years for sure you can just list, I don't know, it's like full of like A4 paper of people that influenced my journey. But I do kind of, like on top of my head, there's always some name, right? So for sure, my first company in Singapore, that's my CEO, Noam Florian Martin, our senior folk. It's incredibly patient. Like when you are young and you have a lot of idea and energy, you're likely not listening to like the old folk. That's that just happened. And they
Mhm.
just so patient with me, right? There's so many times we was kind of very, you know, close to get to the point that we are fighting, not like fighting in real life, but it's just disagree, but they still patient and then keep repeating. And eventually I see the value of what they said. Right? Maybe not immediately there, but I eventually see that. So absolutely, there was the people that helped me. Next one for sure on my public speaking journey, Bonnie. I think I mentioned Anglo Nation. Now they changed it to Tech Stack Nation. I got a lot of support from Bonnie early on.
Okay.
Like she was encouraging me. I don't know if my talk is really good, but she was like, "Yeah, Chung, that is top notch." So it does give me a lot of like confidence in myself. And
Confidence.
then gradually I wanted to try bigger and then bigger and bigger meetup. For sure, that's Bonnie. Third one, probably JY, my current CTO at Ascenda. We talk about Ascenda a lot, but I think JY is the one who bring me to the company. He brought me into the company and also encouraged the tech team. He's like super open-minded. He want the tech team, everyone in the tech team, to be involved in the community. So he was so happy to see me doing all of this talking and then traveling to talk. And he was also like giving a lot of support and like asking and following up. So absolutely, JY, my current CTO. And I know the list is long, but I'm gonna pick two, three more. I hope it's okay. um, I think next one is more like the people in the community, right? So previously it's like from ex college, ex company, ex experience, but
Yes.
other community is super helpful. I think I mentioned Aileen, one of the co-founder of Angular Singapore. She's still helping a lot. Michael Chang, one of the father in like the community in Singapore. He was helping with so many initiatives. And in the community in Vietnam, there's Châu Chen. I think I recommend him for you. You can interview him for sure. He just has so much thing to share. And Tiệp Phan, Châu and Tiệp is from Anglo Vietnam, who really give me a lot of advice and support during the first few years. And lastly, for sure, we need to go to the last point. But yeah, I think my wife has been instrumental in all of that, right? For sure.
Yes.
She has been supporting everything behind the scene. You don't see it, but like when I go out talking, there's someone need to be home with a kid and someone who's really, just assure me on everything else. So she's handling so much of the important work at home so that I can still spend time with content and talk. And always she give me a lot of advice, suggestion, encouragement, maybe like yeah, she didn't really listen to my talk, but sometimes she listened to my talk. It's like, hey, is this my husband? And wow, that's tough, man. It's like you need to face it and to see how tough it is. But for sure, I think she is one of the reasons I start speaking. She joined Toastmaster. I think you know Toastmaster, one of
Okay.
the like like community that have you on the public speaking journey. So every time I hear her talk, it's just so clear and it's just so
Mhm.
unique. And it this really inspired me to be, having incorporation all of that into my talk as well. So absolutely, that's my why. So I just wanted to say is I would not be here today without her support. That's it. Yes.
All right. So, yeah, thank you so much, Trong, for joining us today in this episode and for sharing your expertise with everyone. I'm sure those who are from Angular community will get inspiration from your journey too. So, thank you once again for being a part of the show.
Yes. Thank you, Amit. Thanks so much for having me. And it was great talking to you.
Same here.